Welcome back to Backcountry BS-ing. Another episode for you. This is a big one. Mr. On the Trail graciously agreed to come on and talk to us.
Yeah.
So
I feel enlightened. I feel special.
Yeah, Darwin's pretty legit. Easily the biggest guest we've had on the show.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to talk to him.
There's always so much to talk about when it comes to him.
Yes.
I mean, Arizona Trail,
Yes.
getting off the AT, all the videos,
Corona-
van life,
coronavirus pandemic.
Where to begin? We're not going to be able to cover everything.
I know, and I told myself for this one, we're only going to do a little bit of coronavirus, but we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
We'll see where it goes.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's get him on. Hey, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to do this. I mean, I guess this is kind of a weird turn of events.
Yes.
I was totally not going to be able to do this because of how busy I was.
Yeah.
But now, since none of us can do anything.
I know. And Andy and I were just talking right before this. We're like, we don't want to talk too much about the coronavirus. We want to talk about backpacking.
Yeah.
But
Let's talk about anything.
But I want to. So you're in Flagstaff, right?
Yeah, I'm in Arizona, Flag.
So what's the situation like down there, from a coronavirus perspective?
I mean, it's pretty mundane. I mean, it's everything's pretty much shut down, just like anywhere else. It's a small mountain town. I don't know if either of you guys have ever been to Flag, but it's a pretty small little like college mountain town. Obviously, the colleges are out, and that's the main driving force here. And then it's kind of like the closest big town to the Grand Canyon. It's where a lot of people stop. You kind of have to come through Flag to go to the canyon. So, with that now being, they shut the trails down 2 days ago into the canyon.
Yeah.
And all the visitor centers and everything have closed. So Flag is pretty much shut down. I mean, you go out, you see some locals and stuff riding their bikes and walking the streets. But aside from that, it's pretty desolate, man. Kind of like everywhere.
We were supposed to be in... No, wait, was it Flagstaff? We were supposed to be in Flagstaff at the end of May.
Yeah, we actually currently...
Yeah.
I know. We have a trip to the AZT. This is something we want to talk to you about.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah. Excellent.
We'll see. The last week of May, and we're ending our hike in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
So...
where were you guys going to start at?
We were going to start at like the Pine Trailhead area.
Nice.
And just go, because it was
we're gonna fly into Phoenix, and then
shuttle. We were gonna fly into Phoenix, catch a shuttle to Pine Trailhead, and then it's like 100 and some miles into Flagstaff.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know what the hell's gonna happen right now.
Yeah. So is there a reason you guys were gonna do that section over all the other sections?
Honestly, it was the from the time of year and the logistics. And please correct us because we figured end of May. It's end of May.
We know nothing.
End of May. I know. First off, I didn't know they called Flagstaff Flag, so we'll sound like locals when we go there.
Well, I mean, some people call it Flag. Only if you're cool enough you call it Flag. I'm just trying to fit in and be cool.
We figured it was. End of May, it's too hot to be doing the south passages, right? In the desert? Is that true?
I mean, it really all depends on where you're at. I mean, May can definitely get toasty. It just kind of depends. Funny enough, like if you're down further south around kind of the Tucson area, going up Mount Micah and coming over the Gordon Hibachi Trailhead, kind of close to Mount Lemon and stuff, you're at much higher elevation.
Oh,
you're kind of rolling through the Sky Islands, so there's still flowing water, and it's not that bad. It's actually, funny enough, a lot of people kind of get this thrown mixed up. The Arizona Trail is really unique because the northern section is actually the drier section than the southern section.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there's actually more water down south. Like as you go closer into like the Sonoran Desert, there's more water in the Sonoran Desert than there is up here around Flagstaff in the Coconino National Forest. So,
we should have talked to him before we planned this trip. It was really hard logistically to get without renting a car. We didn't want to have to rent a car. and we like not doing loops if we don't have to. So it was hard logistically to get to any other place other than something around Phoenix and ending something around Flagstaff. So actually what we're doing now, we changed our plans a little bit, is we're flying into Vegas and driving south. Still the same. We're just not flying into Phoenix because it was a little bit easier logistically. But now, like,
you don't want to go to Phoenix anyways. This place is awful.
We now it's like, so like a week ago, I gave this an 80% chance of happening a week ago.
Now it's about
5. Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And we're still gonna backpack that week. It's just we might not be able to get. I don't know if they like shut down domestic travel. I don't know. Wait, no AZT for us.
Yeah.
So it
sucks, man. This whole situation is just it's such a bummer, like on a lot of different levels for a lot of different people. For me in particular, everything that I had going on this year, I was supposed to go like from the AT to Peru.
I was going to ask you,
see my dog in my hometown in Indiana.
Is Peru off?
I mean, we were going to go May. I think the plan was I was going to be doing a showing of my film on May the 2nd in Charlotte, North Carolina at a brewery. And then we were basically going to jump right from there to kind of starting early production on the little short film that I was going to shoot in Charlotte, because the company I'm shooting the film with is based out of Charlotte. Okay. And then we were basically going to get on a plane on May 10th and fly to Peru. And I mean, with how everything's going on, even if they opened everything up,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think if we're like 2 weeks behind, like a bunch of European countries, and then like South America is like 2 weeks behind us.
Yeah.
So at that point, even if everything cleared up here, I mean, everything down in South America could still be really rough, and they might not even want, with America now being like the epicenter for that virus. Like they're like, no. Stay your ass.
You dirty Americans.
Yeah. Right.
We've got, I saw somebody. So I don't know if you're affected by this, although Arizona, you might be. There is a mass exodus of people leaving New York City right now. And we're seeing
stopping people.
We're seeing like New York plates pop up in Ohio. And we're like, what the hell? And Phoenix is a big resort town for East Coasters too, so I would think you might see, well, not in Flagstaff, but I would think you'd see that too. But now it's like, I don't want them coming here. I don't know.
No, man, it's insane. Where are you guys located at?
Columbus, Ohio.
You guys are in Columbus?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I didn't know you're from Indiana either.
Yeah. I grew up in Evansville, Indiana. I used to go to Columbus like once a year. I used to race triathlon. I raced triathlon for 8 years, semi-professionally, and I used to. There was a race up in Sandusky, Ohio. At Cedar Point called Rev 3 that I used to do every year. It's a big race for me every year, and I always used to come to Columbus and go through Columbus. And I have a couple friends that used to live in Columbus, so we'd stop through there and see them.
It's Columbus, like Ohio. Well, you're from from the Midwest. This is great. You can appreciate this. The Midwest and Ohio gets a lot of shit from the outdoor.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I give the Midwest a bunch of shit.
But it's got some good cities. Cedar Point's pretty sweet. You get on the roller coasters.
That's the funny thing, man, is I've done that race. I've done that race 3 times. And every time that I raced, it was always I raced the 70.3, which is a half iron.
Oh, nice.
Right.
And whenever you get there, you've been training and stuff, and you're in the taper to where you're not training, you're letting your body rest so you can race. So getting on a roller coaster is like the last thing you want to do before the race. And then once you get done doing a 70.3, like the last thing you want to do is get on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So I've been up to Cedar Point 3 times and not been on a single ride.
Oh, it's like
you finish in the park, and I've yet to actually enjoy the park. It's being a theme park. So
I didn't know they had a triathlon out there. I did the
they might not do it anymore. Yeah. I mean, the last year I raced was 2013. That was the last time I raced that one. I think Rev 3, actually, the people who used to put the race on, I think they went belly up for a couple of years. They're back now, but they might have dropped like all their Midwest races at the point. And they kind of went belly up for a while.
No one wants to race in the Midwest anymore.
I know. I was going to tell you, we went to in January. I obviously do not do triathlons, but I've been doing marathon running the last couple of years, and I did the I did the Disney World Marathon in January, and then
nice.
and then I did 2 entire days in theme parks the days after it. And it was awful.
It's a mistake, wasn't it?
It was awful. It was a huge mistake. It was
on that.
Huge mistake. And I'm glad. I mean, I'm just glad though. I'm glad we did it because we got back from that trip in mid-January, and that's when this virus thing started to be like a real thing.
Yeah.
And then it accelerated like crazy. And like, so I don't know, is Arizona in an official like shelter in place?
No, they haven't really passed the shelter in place. Which everybody here wants them to.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer, but what's wild is like, all the counties like have shut down and kind of done their own little shelter in place thing.
Yeah.
All restaurants are shut down. All bars are shut down.
Okay. So you're effectively.
It's just like shelter in place,
Yeah.
but like, I guess the governor has yet to just be like, all right, like, let's
Yeah.
just call it shelter in place. I mean, that's basically what it is at this point, but
Yeah. The
it's
Ohio
pretty
governor
wild, man.
he was aggressive
We
at
were
it.
aggressive over
and
here.
everybody was calling for it. So
It's
everyone was happy about it.
weird though, because Andy and I, like we just have normal like cubicle jobs, but our entire company just work from home indefinitely forever. So
Right,
it's
really?
yeah, it's good, but it's weird, like get up and put my PJs on and go to work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. But it's weird because there's no end. They're just like indefinitely work from home for it, and we're thinking at least 2 months.
Oh yeah, at least.
At least.
Yeah. What are you doing?
you know what's weird for me is like I've spent the last almost 5 years, technically 3 years, like basically full-time traveling.
Yeah.
Whether it's hiking or driving or I spent all last year making a film and international traveling, and it's like this is the first time in probably 3 years that like I'm just sitting in one place. And it's very strange. Like at first it was great. Like when I got back, I had to fly back, which was a whole other story. It was something I totally didn't want to do. It freaked me out. Absolutely freaked me out. And I'm not usually like a person,
Yeah.
With the whole virus thing, being out on trail, it was just kind of like anything else, right? Like everybody was like, oh, there's a coronavirus. Same as like, a couple of years ago. Oh, there's Ebola. Oh, there's swine flu. So it was, and whenever you do something like a long distance hike, like you're familiar with stuff like, what's it called? God, why can't I think of it? Norovirus.
Yeah.
Norovirus is a real thing on long distance, especially the AT. So when someone's like, it's the coronavirus, like at first everyone's like, can't be worse than norovirus.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. So that was kind of everybody's mentality out there. And, whenever it got real, and, I keep telling everybody this, like it got real. You have to imagine like everybody's sitting at home or at work or something, and you got to see constant updates of it getting real, right? Out on trail, it's not like that. You're hiking, you're not paying attention. It's not like you're looking at the screen the whole time you're hiking. Most time, you don't have signal, especially if you're an AT&T customer, you definitely have signal. And, so every time you flip on your phone, there's like a little thing about like, oh, like there's more cases. And you're thinking like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then the next time you flip open your phone, it's like, hey, like this place is kind of suggesting maybe a state of emergency. And you're like, that's really weird. And then the next time you flip on your phone, it's like all hell is broken loose.
Right.
Everybody's losing their mind. Everything's shutting down. And you're in the middle of nowhere, standing on top of a mountain, like, what the shit am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Well, so it's weird. Like, there's so many people that are being like super judgmental right now about hikers that were out there, hikers that maybe are still out there. But like the thing that those people don't realize is like it's easy to say that stuff because you got to watch it develop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like being a hiker on the trail, it's a totally different situation. It's just like it comes out of nowhere, and it's you're not just watching it roll in. It's just all of a sudden everything's fine, and then boom, it blows up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh crap, what do I do? How do I get off the trail? How many more miles do I have to hike out? How many days is it going to take me to get to a place to where I can, I got to call somebody now. How long is it going to take them to get to me? Where can I get to get off the trail? And it's the thing that sucks about it is there's so many people that were being judgmental about it, that are still judgmental, that don't understand. Like you can't just like, instantly get transported off the trail like, by some magical retractor beam, right? Like, and go back home. Like there's a lot of logistics that come into that. So yeah, it got really weird really quick. And then, from going from that to where even the day that I got off the trail, the day before I got off the trail, everything, there was still talk about it, but everything was still somewhat normal. You still saw people. Nothing was shut down. Like I was in Franklin, North Carolina, the day before I got off the trail, and like nothing, there were people talking about it, but there was no, you know what I mean? There was no like,
right.
oh, this is the end of the world, like apocalypse, like we should all hunker down feeling. And then, you know, when I got off of the trail, my buddy Benny came and picked me up because he lived about 3 hours from where I was close to. And then like, I remember like driving into, like going to his house and going through his hometown and everything just being shut down and like a post-apocalyptic town. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Oh, that's creepy.
So,
and then, and then being in an airport and trying to like get on a plane, and there only being like 6 people on a plane, and everybody's got like wide eyes and terrified and looking at each other like we're all going to stab each other. And it was just like, this is not, you know, doing that normal everyday life is one thing, but like going from trail situation where you're like, you know, everything's peaceful and everything's zen and you're kind of in your groove, to going straight to that, it was like super jarring, very, very awkward. For sure.
So did you have any of those like panic moments once you got back where you're just taking your temperature all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I got back last Sunday. Oh, so I've been back for a week. I've been in Flagstaff for a week. I've been off the trail for almost 2 weeks now, which is weird because time flew by really fast.
Yeah.
Sitting around not doing anything, usually time moves by slow, but for me, it's just been like moving quick. And yeah, I mean, I just went outside yesterday for the first time since I've been back, just to step outside and get some fresh air. But I have not like went out of that door since I got here because it just freaked me out.
Yeah.
Man. It's like one thing of, you know, everybody's telling you that and social distancing, but whenever like you're in an airport, like I had a layover for like an hour at Dallas. There was nobody in that airport. I got off of the plane and it was just like empty. If you've ever been to the Dallas airport, it's a busy ass airport. So it was really off-putting. And then I flew straight from there into Flagstaff, and like the Flagstaff airport was basically just shut down.
Yeah.
Like all the lights were off and stuff. We landed.
Oh my God.
And like all the lights are already off in the building and stuff. You know, get my box that I flew with, and yeah, and it was creepy. It was definitely awkward.
So what was the because I know you're out on the AT and your service is spotty, so like how much time lapsed? Like did you turn on your phone one day and it was like the ATC has shut down the AT, and then were you just like, get the hell out of there? Like, how did that work?
So what happened is I put out a video this past Tuesday, and I tried to kind of explain it loosely, but didn't want to go too in depth with it, because regardless of like, you know, your opinion of what you tell people and how things are, you know, people are still going to say what they want to say and believe what they want to believe. So I tried to deliver as much information as I could without dragging on with this story, right? So whenever I flew out to the AT, I flew out a few days before I started, and I started on March the 10th. Again, you know, like there was some talk like, oh, there's this thing called coronavirus. But at the time, you know, just like everybody, I'm sure, was like, oh yeah, Ebola. Oh yeah, bird flu. Oh yeah, everything else that like everybody's been told for years and years and years. And I try to be somewhat of a logical person. You know, I need some sort of fact, or need somebody to like hit me in the face with something to really show me that like, hey, this is serious. So, you know, I flew out of Phoenix that day. The Phoenix airport was pretty normal, still busy. I saw one person in that entire airport that had like a face mask on. And if you ever do like any international flying or anything, or fly a lot, you'll see typically a lot of people with face masks on, whether there's a virus or not. So I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Maybe people are just taking precautions. Cool. Get there, got picked up by my buddy. We went to his hometown for a couple of days and hung out to kind of decompress before I started hiking. Everything was fine. Nothing was shut down. Nobody was talking about it. Got to Dahlonega, Georgia, which is the closest town next to Springer, where a lot of people kind of start their hike. Everything was fine. Nothing was shut down. Nobody was talking about it. Get up to Springer on March 10th. Everything was fine. Nobody's talking about it. And, you know, started hiking, got to Nell's Gap, which is your first contact with civilization.
Right.
You start the AT. It's about 34 miles into the trail. And again, everything was fine there. Nobody was saying anything, talking about anything. I heard like a toilet paper joke. Right? At this point. and then I heard this couple talking about they were some college kids and they were out doing a section hike. And I'm sitting there out on the patio and eating a pizza, and I wasn't going to stay the night. I was going to keep hiking for the day. And I heard them talking about how they were going to get off there. They were on spring break and they were just hiking a section from Springer to Niels, and they were going to get off there, but they had seen hearsay that they were going to close classes at the college that they went to, and that they were going to extend the break. And they're like, well, if that's going to, we're just going to hang out here for the night. And if that's the case, then we're just going to keep hiking on the trail. Yeah. And that's it. Like, that's all anybody said about it. And then when I got to Franklin, North Carolina on day 5, that's when things kind of seemed, it wasn't panic. It wasn't like everything shutting down. This is a massive thing, but there was talk, right? There was, I think Elmer's, which is a really old historical hostel that's in Hot Springs, North Carolina. He closed. He's like an 80-year-old man. Mm-hmm. So I guess like just with the talk, he went ahead and closed.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was that talk because I have some friends that started a hostel this year in Franklin. I stayed with them and they were like, did you see that Elmer's closed? And I was like, no, really? And they're like, yeah. And, there's other people that are talking about like if this thing blows up and it gets out of hand, like hostels might have to start closing. And they were kind of worried about that,
that's
right?
They
were talking
point.
about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think about that because you got people coming in all over.
Right. So, but aside from that, I mean, we went to this local outfitter called Outdoor 76, and they were still open. It was real dead in there, and they were talking about how they were worried that if things started shutting down because of all this, that like what were the hikers that were still on trail going to do? Like they kind of needed Outdoor 76 to resupply because people send their boxes to places,
Yeah,
right? So 76 takes people's resupply boxes, and they're like, we're worried if they make us shut down, how are hikers that are still on the trail that need resupply, that need the support, where are they going to get support from? And I had a little conversation with the guy that runs it. And then again, everything just felt fine. Took a zero the next day to hang out with my friends, kind of an unplanned zero, just because I wanted to spend some time with them. And that morning, we went out. I got dropped back off. It's called Winding Stair Gap. It's kind of where you come into Franklin at. And I took off hiking. We said bye to each other, gave him a hug, took off hiking, and like got in about 10 miles up onto a spot called Waya Bald. There's an old famous fire tower, a big stone fire tower that sits on top of Waya Bald. And like sun breaks, it'd been raining all morning. Sun breaks, I have service, turn on my phone, and man, I turned my phone on, hit Instagram, and I start seeing all of this stuff. Oh yeah, it was insane. I saw that my buddy Legend, he was posting a bunch of people. He had posted something saying that he was going to postpone his hike. He was going to go out and try to do an FKT of the AT this year, and then an FKT of the PCT. And he had said that he's going to postpone his hikes. And then he started reposting a bunch of other hikers that I know saying that they were going to postpone their hike. I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like something must have happened. And then all of a sudden I see Legend had posted the statement that the ATC had made that day. And it was right around like, I think noon or something. It was that morning when they made that statement.
Okay.
And then
so
instantly when I read that statement, I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like regardless. And to be honest, like for me, it was a battle because I had the same mindset that a lot of people have. I was like, oh, well, like, I'm not going to go to a city where they're shutting it down. I'm safer on the trail, right? And I had that mentality for a second. And then I had to sit there and think about it. And I was like, no, I'm not, I've been an ATC member for years, since I've done the AT back in 2015. Respect the hell out of the trails, respect the hell out of public lands. Right. And for me, it was more of an ethical thing. I was just like, because in the statement, and the statement was skewed because the statement said, we're asking hikers that will soon be starting their hike to postpone their hike.
Not people on it.
Right. And then it said, if you plan on staying on the trail, we recommend you getting off. But if you plan on staying on the trail, here's some guidelines to follow. Like, make sure you're washing your hands, have enough money to quarantine yourself for 14 days. If for some reason you feel sick, yada, 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 yada. So I read that and I was just like, if I keep hiking, if I decide that I'm going to keep hiking, it's setting a bad example.
Right.
Yeah.
2, I don't want to, they had said in there that what they were worried about, and it's the first thing I thought about, were all the small communities.
Yeah.
Thinking about Elmer and Hot Springs, being an 80-year-old man, people that are like super, susceptible to it. And it's just all the people you come in contact. A lot of people think that you're out there like, tromping through the woods in the wilderness for months on end, like living off the land. Like, no, you're not. It's like every 3 days you're coming to a road where someone's doing trail magic and you're going into a town to resupply and staying at a hostel. So it's super like connected. You're constantly connected with people at shelters, at trailheads, at everything. And I was just like, this isn't worth it. Like, it's not worth it because if something were to happen and a town on the AT was to shut down because there was some virus outbreak.
Yeah.
I don't want to be responsible for that. I don't want to be, one, I don't want to risk myself.
Mm-hmm.
2, like that, I'm not going to jeopardize like the communities and stuff that I spend so much time like trying to raise awareness for. And I mean, I just got this last year, I just spent a whole year making a film to raise money and support the Arizona Trail and the community. I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to jeopardize. Like, I practice what I preach. So I whipped open my phone. I called my wife. I told her, and even she was skeptical. She's like, don't give in to like social pressure. And I'm like, I don't know if it's social pressure. I just think it's being smart.
Yeah.
And I said, the ATC had released this thing. I called my friends in Franklin, at the hostel and told them what was going on. And they said that if, I needed them to come pick me up, if they were ready. And then I called my buddy Benny, who lives in Tennessee, who wasn't too far from where I was at. And he told me if I was around that area, if I needed anything, to come stay with him. So I called him up and said, hey, can you meet me at the NOC in North Carolina? Can you meet me tomorrow morning? I'm going to get off the trail. And even he was just like, what's going on?
Wow.
And, I mean, it was that quick. And I camped that night. There was a couple hikers that were camped around the shelter that there were some in the shelter. There was one camped outside, and I basically spent that day, and I hated doing it because when I was on the PCT in 2018, there was so much fear mongering. There always is on trails. People are like, don't go into the Sierras. Like, people are dying in the Sierras. Don't do it. You need ice axe and crampons and snowshoes and it gets out of control. So, but I was trying to do my part, and I had made my decision to get off trail. I was trying to spread that to other hikers.
Right.
And just like, and the wild thing is how nobody knew.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd see a group of hikers. I'd be hiking down the trail and come up on a group of hikers taking a break. I'm like, have you guys seen the statement that the ATC put out? Or I said, do you guys know anything about the trail and what's coming up and stuff? And they're like, oh yeah, we saw that the NOC is going to close tomorrow.
Mm.
And I said, yeah, I saw that, but have you seen the statement that the ATC put out? They're like, no. Everybody I came into contact with, no, they had not seen that at all.
Well,
so I was.
Yeah. I mean, we watched your video and it was excellent.
Looking back, how good of a decision was it for you to get off that trail? Looking at the spread of this thing,
it was a great decision. And for me, it was trying to think about the other thing that I took into account, and what I told a lot of hikers when I where I was going with that is I tried not to be fear mongering, right? I tried not to be like, get the hell off the trail.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I tried to I tried to be logical with them, and I said, hey, the ATC is suggesting that people get off the trail. I've heard of a couple places closing. Is this your guys' first hike? And everybody would be like, yeah, it's our first hike. I'm like, all right, just know that if you stay on the trail, it's gonna turn into a logistical nightmare. One, we were only like maybe 40 miles from entering the Smokies.
Mm-hmm.
Once you go into the Smokies, like there's one way out. It's up at Newfound Gap. And if they shut down the Smokies, the road to the Smokies, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Right after the Smokies, there's Standing Bear. If they shut down, you're screwed to Hot Springs. If Hot Springs shuts down. So it was going to become, that was my big thing. And what I thought about a lot is, if I plan to stay out here and everything starts shutting down, which it did, it's going to basically going to become impossible to hike. And then it's unsafe. And then it's irresponsible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just, and that's really what it comes down to. It's just respecting the trail.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of hikers right now that are, luckily in the last week, a ton have got off, but there's still a couple like holdouts out there.
They're
right?
out there.
And you know what it is if you talk to any of those hikers that are still out there, they're all new hikers. And it's because when you start a long distance hike and you start your first hike, it's this thing that you've saved up all your money for. You've put your life on hold and you've quit your job and you've given your entire life to walk, you know, from terminus to terminus. And it's your goal and it's what you're going to do. And nothing is going to stop you from doing it. So the idea of getting off trail is like, it doesn't even make sense. It's like, no way. Like, you'll have to chop both my legs off and my arms, and I'll have to drag myself by my teeth to get to the end. It's just not so. But once you do that hike, once you do your first hike, and you continue kind of in the long distance hiking community, you realize, and for me, it was like realizing about halfway through my first hike, is it's more about the community. It's more about the people that support the trail. It's more about the other hikers that are out there. It's having respect for the thing that you're out there enjoying. It's practicing what you preach. You know, it's saying that like, I love this thing. Well, it's also standing up for that thing and respecting that thing. And I think a lot of those new hikers just don't have that mindset yet. So they're seeing all these people freaking out. They're seeing all these people bashing them and shaming them. And it's having the reverse effect. Those hikers are being like, well, screw you. You're not out here. Like, I'm not getting off the trail. Piss on you. And that's what it's doing. It's making, and that's where it's the wrong attitude to get so angry with them and tell people that they're wrong and that they're doing the wrong thing. They're being ignorant and shaming them, because all that's going to do, it's like if you tell someone not to press the big red button, what do they want to do? They want to press the big red button. And it's the same thing. So it's been really difficult to watch that and then watch this weird thing. You know, I've had to sit here for a week and kind of like swallow my pride a lot. I have let it out a little bit and and made comments here and there, but it kills me. It kills me to watch the community divide. And it kills me. The hiking community will never be the same after this. It'll never be the same, because people are going to really show their colors. People are going to show how much they care, how much they don't care, who supports who. And it's just like next year, hell, this year, if all this clears up in a month and everybody goes back out there, it won't be the same. There's that love and that respect for each other won't be there. It scares the hell out of me.
There's a big saying right now amongst a lot of people that like in times like this, we need to be thinking about we and not I. And it crosses over to everything.
I could not imagine quitting my job.
Oh, I know.
Saving up thousands of dollars.
I know.
And this literally hit like you're a week into the trail.
I know.
Like
it's awful.
Could you, and then can you imagine how much of dick you look like if you're still out there?
I know.
Like going into these towns.
But that's the thing. It's like they're not thinking about it that way. They're not thinking about it that way. And here's the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is those towns, and I love them to death. I love those hostels to death. I love Trail Angels to death. I love all of them because they've supported me over the years. They've helped me complete my hike. But you got to think, like right now, economy, bad, right? A lot of small businesses, hostels, resupplies, restaurants are in fear of shutting down. Well, those small towns depend on hiking season for all these hikers to come in.
I didn't think about that.
I mean, all those hostels hostels.
So you're going to have hostels, you're going to have restaurants that are not, they're not going to encourage people to get off the trail. They're going to say, hey, come on in, we'll take care of you.
I did not think about that.
That sucks because it's spreading the wrong message. And then it's giving that hiker validation and being like, well, they don't want us to leave. They want us to come into the town.
I never
but they're not
that.
thinking about, and I've watched that. Like I've spent a whole week again, biting my tongue a lot, watching that banter back and forth between people, just thinking like some of you people just aren't realizing the actual situation that's going on here.
Yeah, this is interesting because we're not in the long distance hiking community.
No, we're weekend warriors, very much.
So we're just seeing.
We're pissed about our 7-day trip to Arizona being up in flight, like a 6-month through hike.
I know, man. Just I don't know. So many. It's awful.
I tried to say it in my video. I know what it's like. There was a particular hiker, and I won't mention their name, but they were out there, and they're an influencer, right? They have a bit of a following, and they were out on the trail, and they were a holdout. They were deciding not to get off the trail, and it was crushing me to see that person because it was their first hike. They were, they're trying to be a spokesperson for the trail. They're trying to inspire people. They're putting out media, and then it crushed me to see that person not thinking about the we, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about more than me and being an influencer for the community. And I personally reached out to that person. I was lucky enough to get the person's number and reached out and just try to not be hateful, not be judgmental, and just try to level with the person. Be like, look, if anybody knows how awful it is to get off trail, in 2015, I was 1,600 miles into the AT. And I had to get off the trail, 1,600 miles, and had to call my hike in 15. And it crushed me. It ate me up. It went through post-trail depression like you wouldn't believe. It's what made me start my channel. It's what made me start all of this, was because I needed a way to cope with it.
Right.
And getting off trail, I 1,600 miles in, is insanely hard. And just 100 miles in, 50 miles into a trail, it's insanely hard to get that far and feel like, hey, I'm going to do this. And then just have to throw in the towel. It's really, really hard to do. And it's something I think a lot of people aren't thinking about whenever they try to bash people and they try to shame people. They're not trying to level with that person and think, okay, well, where's that person's mind right now? And then also take into account they're out on the trail. They're still getting support from trail angels. They're still getting support from hostels. So there's this weird dividing line that's kind of being drawn in the hiking community.
How did this person respond to you reaching out to them?
The first response was a little on the defense. It was a little bit, just a little bit.
It's just I'll hike my own hike.
Okay.
Still open to it, and I started my message the same way I said it in that video. I know where you're coming from. I was out there. I'm not a person that's just sitting on the internet. I'm not a person that's just on a Facebook page that didn't get to start their hike, because I think that there is, to a point when all this started, there was a little bit of jealousy, right? If you were going to start your hike and you hadn't got there yet, and you still saw people on the trail that were getting to do the thing that you can't go do, there's got to be some form of jealousy. So you're going to say, get the hell off the trail. It's going to happen. That's just, we're humans, and that's how we act. That's just how we're wired, right? So, so I tried, anybody that I try to connect with, I try to be as level as possible and be like, look, I know I was out there. I decided to get off, and here's the reasons why. Something maybe that you're not thinking about, or maybe you are thinking about it, but just know, if you plan to keep hiking and things get worse, you're going to put yourself and everybody else in a situation that's going to be much worse than just getting off the trail right now. And maybe we're all wrong. Maybe this all blows over in a week, and okay, you lost a week.
That's not happening.
I don't think that's going to happen.
That's not happening.
Yeah, you can tell everybody they're wrong, rub it in their face, and go back to hiking. If you waited 3 years to do this hike, you can surely wait a couple weeks or a month. And again, if everyone's wrong and it's all a hoax, then you can rub it in everyone's face and tell them they were dumb and get back to doing what you were doing anyways.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to lose. Why wouldn't you do it? So that was kind of how I leveled with that person. And then luckily they came to their senses and they thought about it in that way, and they got off the trail. And I'm hoping that by putting out that video, and I felt late to putting out that video, because I was, that was a week after I got off the trail. I put that out on Tuesday. But what people don't realize is, again, there's a lot of logistics to getting off the trail. I had to get off the trail. I had to take care of myself. I had to figure out how to fly back here, which was ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
I thought flights were supposed to be cheap. Oh, it wasn't.
Oh yeah, not at all. Like booking a flight like a day in advance.
Yeah.
Well, it was 2 days.
2 days at least.
But it was from small airport to small airport.
Yeah.
And it was really expensive. And you know, I had to get back here, kind of self-quarantine myself, make sure I was safe before I could stop and make a YouTube video for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I've gotten all kinds of weird feedback, and people are like, "You were so late to making this video." Like, I'm sorry.
Really? You're like a week? That's good.
God.
Oh, there's a couple people. Who
Yeah,
like,
man.
you know, it's irresponsible that it took you this long to make this message. I'm like, I'm sorry. I was trying to take care of myself and my loved ones, and sorry I didn't make a video to entertain you.
Are you almost at the point where you should stop reading comments, do you think?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Now?
You gotta get some bad ones.
You gotta get just trolls left and right. If they're
Oh, I do totally. And you know, the thing that irritates me is I'm a very prideful person. Like, I'm all about pride. I'm very proud of what I do. And for me, creating media, I've said it a million times, you know, I didn't go out to do the AT and start a YouTube channel so I could be a famous YouTuber. And that was not in the cards for me.
Joke's on you.
Yeah, right? Totally a mistake. And, you know, I didn't have a Facebook account when I went out to do the AT. It's just that wasn't a thought for me. I started doing it because I wanted to be connected to the community. And then I really started doing it and kind of going like full time doing it because I wanted to give back, because it's always been about the community for me. When I went out to do the AT, I was a very selfish person. I didn't really like people, to be honest. The AT, the hiking community, is what really brought a different personality out of me. It's what made me feel connected to people. I was well, you guys know, from the Midwest, everybody's blue collar.
Yeah.
Like, everybody stays to themselves. And that's how I was when we went to do the AT. And then when I got off, I just felt like I needed to do something to give back to the trail. We were living in New Mexico at the time. You know, it's not like I was going to go out and open a hostel. I couldn't go do trail magic. So my way of connecting to it was by creating videos. And that's always been my goal from day one, is like, I love hikers. I love the community. I love it. I love other creators. I just think it's amazing. Like, we're just living in such a cool time where we can all connect on like-minded things like we never could before. So for me, like, I'm a very proud person. So like, whenever there's a bunch of comments, I love reading through comments and responding to people. They're like, right on, man. And like, I like to get on there and screw with people and joke back and forth.
I noticed that.
And answer questions. You know, I've been doing it for 5 years now. And like, I get a ton of comments per video, but I still try to go and answer as many as I possibly can, just because I love staying connected with people. It's my biggest thing. So when I'm cruising down through comments, I'm like being positive and like energetic and loving it. It's driving me to want to do more. And then there's some just, you know, prick that wants to leave some message on there. I got too much pride, man. I can't step away from it. It's a problem.
Is that why I noticed on one of your gear videos, I watched it like a week ago, where you were joking about like how there's no green screen in the background.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Someone ripping on you for that?
Some dude's like,
that's right.
What was it? What was the original comment? Yeah, every once in a while, just like, I'll throw a smart ass joke in the video.
Yeah, that's funny.
And most people don't get it. Most people know what I'm talking about. But for me, I'm just like, ha ha ha. My own like little joke to myself. But yeah, it's so weird, man. You know, it's weird for me because I'm just not like that. I'm not wired that way. I don't try to base an opinion or have any feelings towards something that I have no frame of reference on. If I've never met anybody, I've never talked to them like this, even like this, like, how can I make an opinion about them?
Right.
Yeah.
How can I make claims against them? Like, that's just that. I think that's one of the biggest things that's wrong with our world. Is like, we're all so self-righteous and we think that like we know best, and like, I'm going to tell you how I feel. And even though I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about, no frame of reference of what I'm talking about. And that stuff drives me nuts, man. That's my biggest pet peeve. It's people making comments and making statements on things that they have no frame of reference on. It drives me up a wall. So yeah, sometimes I can't help but to answer a comment.
Man.
I gotta start.
I was like, we're like a 25th of your size, and we get them. I can only imagine the ones you get.
And I should be better than that. And
no, you're having fun with it.
I spend most of my time trying to be as positive of an influence as I possibly can on people, because again, like for me, and it's the thing that drives me nuts, because those people that are leaving comments, those people that want to base opinions, they've never met me. They don't know who I am. They don't know what my motive is.
Right.
So it's like when people leave a comment saying something like, "You're just in it for the money," or something like that. Like, bud, you have no idea how much money I pay every year to public lands, and like how much I give back to as much as like. That's my whole driving force. If you took that away, like, trust me, I used to be a machinist and tool and die maker by trade. I could make a lot more money going back to doing that than I am making YouTube videos for people. I do it because I love to share media and I love the community. Like, that's my driving force. And then over the past year, I've kind of turned a leaf with that and been like, okay, well, if I'm going to be doing this, if I'm going to be a positive influence for a community that I love, I want to raise as much awareness and as much money and as much attention as I can for the things that I love and the things I care about. Hence why I spent a whole year shooting a film, to raise a bunch of money for, a trail, and for public lands, and a bunch of things that I'm going to be doing going forward is the same thing. Like, I want to continue to help protect and preserve these places so we can all enjoy them, so we can all go out and go after them. Like, I don't care about being a famous YouTuber like that. I hate the term YouTuber. It drives me nuts. I can't stand it. Can't stand it.
I thought it was pretty sweet. I bought your documentary, and I didn't realize at the time. First off, you could have charged a lot more than $7. By the way, I was like, "This is only $7. This is like a professionally made video. This could be on Netflix." I thought it was cool.
It went on sale yesterday.
I didn't realize you're giving half the proceeds to the AZT. I thought that was sweet.
Yeah. So every showing that we've done, we've given 100% of the proceeds back to
awesome.
the ATA.
That's sweet.
That's so nice.
And then the film, the whole point with the film from get-go, from like whenever I kind of came up with the whole idea for it, whenever I started to dream of the whole project, is that whenever we released it online, I wanted to give 50% of every penny made on the film to the ATA. And then after a year of doing that, I'm just going to give the film to the ATA for them to make 100% of the proceeds.
That's really
I didn't know that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the director, Matt, who's in the film, he didn't know that until about a couple months ago. I kept telling a bunch of other people, but never told Matt that.
That's funny.
And then the other, it's funny, like speaking of trolls, I had some troll whenever I posted something about like 50% of the proceeds when I posted on YouTube when the film came out. Some dude's like, yeah, but where's the other 50% going in your pocket? God. And I'm like, no, actually 10% is going to Vimeo for hosting it. And then I paid about 5% for processing fees. And then the other percentage, which I guess I haven't really talked about it. I've talked about it with close friends and people that know me. But the other percentage, the whole goal from the get-go was to take that other amount of money, put it into an account, and then that money is going to fund the next film project that I'm going to start at the end of this year.
Wow.
So this is the first time I've actually publicly said that.
Boom! You heard it here first.
Yes. Yes.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I never wanted to, and I haven't to this point of doing it. It's now 13 and a half months of working on the film and having it done and all of that. I've not made a penny off the film, and I don't want to make a penny off the film because the next film project is also going to be going back to public lands. It's going to go back to raise money for public lands.
But
Colorado Trail film? Colorado Trail film?
No, man.
Yeah. I know. Are you still planning on doing that this year with everything going on? I know that's in your plans, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the plan as of now is to fly out for Calgary in Canada on, I won't give the exact date because that gets weird.
Yeah.
The end of June. And then I was supposed to start a through hike of the Great Divide Trail the first week of July. Get done with that, and I was going to hop right from there to Denver and do the Colorado Trail southbound. So
Oh, nice.
Obviously, that's still up in the air, so we'll see what happens. I'm hoping. I mean, it's the end of June. As long as everybody will take their ass home and stop hanging out at trailheads and being morons, then I think I can still go do it. But
have you ever been out to the CT?
Hold on 1 second. I just have to get a comment real quick. It is certainly not unfair for you to take
dude,
to get paid from the documentary that you made.
I like how we backed up.
Okay, like that. I just want to
I know.
that is not unfair.
Those are man hours. We know how hard it is to produce high quality video content. Like those are man hours. You should definitely be compensated for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly great what you're doing. I mean, it's certainly admirable and wonderful, but nobody should have ever given you crap if you were to make a decision. Like, I'm going to take a certain proceeds so that I can live.
Sure.
And,
and that wasn't for anybody else. Like I didn't make that decision for anybody else.
Yeah.
That's just kind of me. Like everything that I do, I put it back into the thing that I do. Like, I'm still like hiker trash through and through. Like, for the first time in like 3 years, like I have a place, which is really awkward. And honestly, it's kind of uncomfortable. It doesn't take much to keep me going. A little bit of kombucha every once in a while, some food, and get to do a hike. So, like, making money and stuff has always been like, well, whatever I make from it, I want to give back. I want to put back into it. And so with the film, that was always the goal from day one. Whether I had to fund it,
right?
Whether it was 100% me or whether it was bringing people on to help fund it, I wanted to give half to the ATA and take the other 35% and do something else with it and do something bigger with it and just keep doing bigger things to keep, we're all hikers, right? And it doesn't take much to be a hiker. Like, honestly, like if we shed away all the other crap of like, I've hiked this many miles, you've hiked this many miles, it's putting a bag on your back and walking through the damn woods. Like a chimp can do it. It doesn't take anything to do it. Buying a piece of gear and talking about it is also not an amazing talent.
No.
I'm not amazing for it. You're not amazing for it.
That's
We're
funny.
all just dumb.
That's funny. That's really funny.
So, for me, it's always been like, well, YouTube is great, and I love it as an outlet. I love that I get to use it to share my passion, share my inspiration. But as it gets bigger, like it's totally gotten way bigger than I ever wanted it to get. I tell people all the time, and like, I'm not telling anybody that's watching this to go and subscribe for my channel because I hope to keep inspiring all of you.
Yeah.
But like, it could have stopped at 20,000. It could have stopped at 10,000. I would have been just fine with that. Like that's all I wanted to inspire. Because as you know, with more numbers become more people that want to troll and not like you, and you get more of a hate squad, right?
It gets. Do you feel pressure to be a positive? I know. Obviously, you're a super positive person, and from what we see, and you've like giving back and supporting trails and communities. But do you feel pressure to do that with your following?
Not really. No, I mean, people kind of ask me that all the time. Like somebody asked me the other day, do you feel like you have to go and hike trails and put out things?
Yeah.
Because it's what people expect you to do. Like, no, if I did what people expected me to do, like last year and this year, I would have been like hiking the CDT so I could get my triple crown, so I could do what everybody wants to watch me do. Instead, I decided to go make a film, get back to people, and go back out to the AT to screw off for a couple months.
Yeah.
So, I do what I'm passionate about, and what I love to do, even if that means like I lose people, even if that means that, I create more haters, even whatever, I discovered a couple years ago. I'm going to get deep for a second. You guys ready?
Bring it.
Go deep.
Go deep.
Yeah.
So, everybody's always looking for what they're supposed to do in life and what they're supposed to give back. And, I've gotten caught up in the last handful of years of, this whole YouTube thing. And it blew up really fast and weird for me because, again, like you guys know, when you're a creator, you kind of live in this vacuum, in this bubble. You create something, you put it out into the world, and then you don't look at it again. You go on to the next thing. You're just constantly creating things, putting out, right? So when I went out to do the PCT in 2018, I hadn't really been around a lot of people. The channel had blown up, but I hadn't really been, on the AT around a bunch of other hikers who knew who I was. I put out a video, put it up online, went back to doing my thing. I worked at a bike shop in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Even though I lived in Albuquerque and I worked in an outdoor store, like nobody was in the long distance hiking. Nobody knew who I was. And then when I went out to the PCT, like everybody knew who I was, and everybody wanted to stop and talk and take photos.
Jeez.
And at first it was great. And I felt like, oh, wow, like this is great. Like people are telling me that I inspired them to come out here and that I helped them choose a backpack or a tent. And about halfway through my hike, I went through a bit of an identity crisis, which I haven't really talked about. And I don't talk about it a lot. I think I've said it maybe once on a podcast. But it was weird for me because I would have people walk up to me and say stuff like, and I'm not trying, this isn't me trying to gloat. This is me talking about how weird this is. Somebody would walk up to me and say something like, hey man, your videos are amazing. Can I give you a hug? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I give them a hug and they're like, I want to let you know, like you helped save my life. Like my father passed away and me and him used to backpack together and he's been gone for a handful of years and I was depressed. And I started watching your videos and you inspired me to come start backpacking again. You helped get me out here on the trail and like you helped save my life. And people saying stuff like that to you, whenever you live in this vacuum and you're just creating things because it's what you love to do, that like messed with me pretty hard because I'm like, I don't want that responsibility.
Yeah, that's a big burden. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the original plan was when I got off the PCT, I was going to do what everybody else wanted to do. And I was going to go through hike the CDT and get my Triple Crown and make it about me. And I was around Mount Shasta, Northern California, and I kind of went through a little bit of a breakdown. Like I thought a lot about like, I don't want to be famous or I always say I'm a second-rate Kmart celebrity. For any of you that still know what a Kmart is. So I didn't want that. I don't want to be responsible for that. I didn't want to be stopped every 5 minutes and have a photo taken of me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I battled with it for a couple of days. And that's when I made the decision. And I kind of had this thought. I was like, you know what? Like, I've tried for years. Like I used to own a restaurant. I owned a restaurant for 8 years, a pizza restaurant. I owned a recording studio for a little bit. I used to race triathlon. I'm a machinist, tool and die maker by trade. I was a spinning instructor. Cycling, spinning. Oh yeah.
You just glossed over a lot of things really fast. But I won't let you finish. We'll let you finish this.
Yeah, keep going.
That's like a fraction of the things that I've done. And I've tried all of these things, and like there's this whole Midwest mentality of like, you get a career and you have a family and you leave a legacy behind, you have a kid and stuff. And that was never really in the cards for me. And I tried all these things to try to be quote unquote successful at, and I could never really find my place. And then I had this totally change of mind while I was out on the PCT. And I was like, I'm never going to go to the moon. I'm not going to find the cure for cancer. I'm not going to run for president and change the world politically. Like that's not in the cards for me. That's not who I am. So what can I do to change the world a little bit? Like just one person. And it's like, oh, I can turn on a camera and I can be positive and I can try to bring awareness to something that I love. And for some reason, some very awkward ass reason, that changes someone's life. Yeah. Like that person that talked to me on trail. And that's when it clicked for me. And it became all about, from that point forward, it became about other people. It became about trying to be as positive as possible. Even if that means like being cheesy and moving my hands around, moving my eyebrows around and acting like an asshole on a camera. It was, and I do, and I own it. If that brings a smile to somebody's face and that like helps them turn their life around and that helps them choose what backpack to buy and get out on a trail. And if that little thing changes their life and sets them down another path, I've somehow changed the world. Like I've somehow, goofy enough, I've done that. And that's always been my goal from that day forward. Like that's why I wanted to do the film. That's why I wanted to give back. That's why I wanted to do the things that I'm supposed to be doing this year. That I can't do right now. That's why I'm going to start production on another film at the end of this year. That's why I started a media company. at the beginning of last year, Outdoor Revolution. It was all to give back to other people and to make myself kind of this outlet of somewhat positivity. And obviously that comes with a downside of people being like, I don't like him because he's a cheese dick. It's my favorite thing that anyone's ever called me. And my buddy geared up's watching. Oh yeah, somebody once called me a cheese. I don't like that guy because he's a cheese dick. When I read that, I instantly owned it, and I'm like, you know what? I am a cheese dick. I kind of like that. I've loved that ever since.
Dude, that's funny. No, that's awesome. Like Andy and
that's if that isn't goddamn inspiring, I don't know what.
Yeah,
is.
we got onto YouTube 2-3 years ago, and it was purely like we were watching a lot of YouTube, and we were backpacking a lot, and I was like, let's give our hand at this. Let's just make some videos. Let's just see where it goes. We bought a GoPro at REI, and this year we've had people come up to us like at the trail and email us and be like, hey, like me and my wife are backpacking now because we watch your videos. Or like,
it's awesome, isn't it?
It is awesome. Yeah. It is so. It is by far the best thing about doing this. And like, we're small time, but like, we still we reach people, and they come up and they tell us that, and I'm like, that is incredible. Like, that is why our whole thing is we want people to get outside. Like, this world would be a better place if more people spent more time outside and less time inside. And like,
just not right now.
Not right now. Yeah. No, stay inside right now. Stay inside. Yeah. Good call.
Social distancing.
But we have people like we were literally at like a month ago. We were at a tiny little local spot an hour away, and Andy and I were getting our gear out of the truck, and this car comes down, looks at us, squeals on the brakes, does a 180, flips back around, pulls in the parking lot, and this old married couple gets out and is talking to us like, hey, like, we were watching one of your videos and we wanted to come out this weekend, and we're like, that is freaking awesome.
Yep.
Like, that's awesome.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it should always be about.
The power of YouTube. Sure. and like, we were like that before we were YouTubing, and we were just watching YouTubers backpacking. Like, that's how it kind of impacted us too.
Yeah, it motivated us to do more backpacking.
And that is just so freaking cool to have someone tell you. We've never had someone tell us we saved their life. We're not to that power yet.
It's insane. The first time anyone ever told me anything like that was in 2017. This is before I'd hiked the PCT. I love telling this story because it legit freaked me out.
Yeah.
And I said something about being called a cheese dick. My buddy geared up thinking that was really funny. He was there for this story, and he still likes to remind me of it every once in a while. I went out to PCT days in 2017, and it's right, like I was right in between. I put out a couple of videos that had kind of taken off, and like everything had started blowing up, and numbers started like moving quick from one video, and we were about to go full time, and I was basically about to quit my job at the bike shop. We were going to travel full time, something I had wanted to do for a long time. Yeah. And I went out to PCT days. It was in August of 2017. Flew out there. I still thought nobody, right? There was a bunch of people who knew where I was out there. And we're sitting outside of the Cascade Locks Ale House in the back. They had this patio. Shout out to Jules and Shelly. I hope you guys are doing good. That's my family. I love.
Nice.
Yeah. Shout out to Jules and Shelly at Cascade Locks. Sitting out back, and I'm having a beer with a couple of southbound hikers that were coming through, and we were just chatting about the trail. And we're all sitting around this table, and the back door flings open, and this lady, like almost like a cartoon, like jumps out of the door, and she looks around, and she makes eye contact with me, and she goes, "Oh my God, you're here." And I was like, "Hey." She walks up, and she's like, "Can I please give you a hug?" It was an older lady. She's probably like maybe in her like late 50s or something, maybe early 60s. She's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." She gives me a hug. My buddy geared up snapped a photo, and he still has it. He likes to send it to me every once in a while just to screw with me. And then she's hugging me, and she goes, she gets done hugging me, and then when she comes up and I make eye contact with her, she's crying.
Wow.
And she goes, She goes, "You helped save my marriage."
Wow.
And I was like, "Excuse me?" she goes, "Me and my husband have been married for how many years? I can't remember it. And we had kids, and we've had an empty nest for years. They left the house, and we were really close to having a divorce, and we couldn't stand being around each other. And my husband started watching your videos, and I sat down with him and started watching them, and that got us into backpacking.
Wow.
And now we hike together, and we've been hiking like for the past handful of months, and that's our thing. That's what we do together, is we hike. And you helped save my marriage." And I was like, "Oh no! Like, I didn't help save your marriage. Like,
yeah."
I promise." And she's like, "Oh, but you did." And I'm like, "Oh, please don't tell me that. Like, that's deep. That's
dude. Can you
ever
imagine?
since
Oh my
then?
God.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That is. Could you imagine just having a beer at some bar? Someone comes in and tells you that.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Just catches you off
It's
guard.
freaky,
Yeah.
man. And obviously, like, all the other hikers around the table, like, they all think it's funny. Because like, I got like real big white eyes. Like,
Yeah.
and like, she gets up, she like gives me a hug, and she goes back inside. She's like, "I'm gonna go get my husband." And I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
She goes back inside, and I was like, "What the hell?" And they're all laughing. They all think it's funny. They've all obviously got a buzz on at this point.
Yeah.
They're starting to like poke fun at me. And at that point, like, it was a funny thing to me. When someone came up to me, it was funny. And then for the next year, it would almost be a joke to me, because someone would come up and be like, "Oh," and I'd be like, "Oh no, don't get excited. I'm an asshole." Like, you don't trust me like that.
He's a cheese dick.
It was cheese dick. And it was that moment on the PCT when I was kind of having that identity crisis and kind of struggling with that. And that girl, I don't remember what her name was. She was hiking. If you're watching this, like, thank you if you remember that interaction. But that really, like, that turned my brain around, and I'm like, okay, well, even if I think this is goofy, I think all of this is goofy. Like, somebody's getting something out of this,
right.
And that's doing something for somebody.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's just that one small little thing of taking 5 minutes to talk to somebody, or taking 10 seconds out of my day to answer a comment that somebody leaves on one of my videos, like, that might make that person, like, maybe that person's having a crappy day, and that'll maybe put a smile on that person's face, or make them feel validated, or make them, happy about the thing that they're going to go do on the weekend. Or, and obviously, with as many people that contact me constantly, it's hard to do it.
Yeah.
'Cause I get messages, emails and Instagram messages and Facebook messages, and a lot of those I don't answer because I just don't have time. But, but yeah, man, that's what it's all about. Like, that's what it should all be about. That's what the hiking community is all about. It's supporting each other. It's loving each other and respecting each other. And if we can kind of move that off of the trail and like online, and like bring some positivity and stuff to someone's life, like we're all doing our job, man. We're all doing our job as being decent human beings.
How often do you get noticed hiking now? It's got
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like is it to the point where you have to stop so much that it gets annoying to have to stop?
Yes and no. So as a caveat to that, like, I hike big miles and I hike fast and I get in a groove, and I listen to a lot of music when I hike. I'm a big audiophile. I'm really into music. So I'll get in a zone, and like, I'll be coming down the trail, and usually I've learned to, if I'm coming up on like a group of hikers, either to pass them or they're standing on the trail or something, I'll like put my headphones on pause, because I know
it's coming.
And it sounds cocky, but it's not cocky, because it's every single time, without fail. On the AT, I was only out there for 8 days, but those 8 days, like, I probably talked to 200, 300 people. It's insane, man.
That's
like,
insane.
Wow. That's
and it's weird, because like it's like transported off of the trail. Like, I'll go to the grocery store and I'll be standing like buying some broccoli, and like somebody be like, "Hey, are you that guy on?" or people will take this approach. My favorite is this approach of like, I'm going to be real subtle about it and be cool about it.
Yeah.
And someone will come and be like, "Hey man, you look familiar. Where do I know you from?" And I'm like, "I'll quit it." and I'll play back every once in a while. I'll be like, "I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I'm from Indiana. Or, like, no, that ain't it. And they're like, do you do videos on YouTube? And I'm like, oh yeah. Or sometimes I'll be like, no, but I get that all the time, dude. Just to screw with people.
So Andy and I work for a very large company, and we get people hitting us up on the internal company messaging service. Be like, are you guys those YouTubers? You got at a company outing one time.
Yeah. It's weird.
So we've been going for a while, but I want to back up a little bit to the owning a restaurant.
Sorry, I go off on tangents. I'll talk
that's the whole point of this. I want to know about your life leading up to hiking the AT. So I heard machinist, restaurant,
spin
triathlete,
class.
spin instructor, bike shop.
Dude,
so like, what was the
tip of the iceberg?
So you're from Indiana. So then, how did you get from Indiana to where you to hiking the AT?
Oh God. So I am from Evansville, Indiana, second largest city in Indiana. Not much. That's not saying much.
Right.
Very hardcore blue collar. It's just the same as anywhere. Same as where you guys are. Blue collar, Midwest. We work for a living. We die for a living. It's just, that's what you do. Right. And I'd done a lot of stuff. Whenever I was 18 years old, I decided to open a restaurant. It was in 2013, opened a restaurant, went into partnership with family and opened a pizza restaurant. It was a pizza place and blues bar called Talk of the Town,
cool.
Brick Oven Pizza and the Blues. And did that off and on for about 8 years.
Wow.
Working with family is awful. Especially when you're business partners. So that's why I say I worked off and on for about 8 years. There was like periods where I would leave for 6 months. I'd just be done with it. And like, I don't care about my half. I'm out. Leave for 6 months, come back. Leave for 6 months, come back. And let's see. Before that, I'd worked in a ton of different restaurants in the restaurant industry. And then I got married when I was 21, and bought a house, did that whole American dream thing. And in that time, and being married and having a house and like a span of 5 years, so I eventually got out of my side of the pizza place, stopped doing it, and instead I went and opened up a recording studio. And had that. It was like a part-time thing.
Is this still in Indiana?
More of a hobby. Huh?
Is this still in Indiana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we bought a house, and basically the only reason we bought a house was to build the recording studio. Because we were in an apartment at the time, and I was thinking about, getting some commercial space to have the studio. And I'm like, well, if we buy a house, I had some people convince me, like, well, if you buy a house, like, it's cheaper, and that whole scheme.
That's funny.
And that you believe and listen to. So we bought a house, and that had all the essentials to be able to also have a recording studio based out of the house. So the entire basement was finished, and that got turned the live room and the recording room, the sound booths, all of that stuff. And I did that off and on, again, kind of part-time, more like a hobby, for about 2 years. And in that time, I was also racing. For 8 years, I raced triathlon, semi-professional, which is the fancy way of saying you have sponsors, but they don't pay for anything.
Right.
And let's see, I was a spinning instructor at a gym.
I'm laughing at that one.
I ran a fitness center.
That's awesome.
Called Bob's Gym. Shout out to Bob's Gym. Ran that fitness center during the day, and then before my shift and after my shift, I would do 2 spin classes a day. So I was a certified spinning instructor while I was racing. It was kind of like cross training.
Yeah.
It was like, extra way to make money with the thing that I'm already doing. And then I somehow fell into being a machinist and tool and die maker. Was randomly working in the gym, and I had this customer or this member that would come in every day, and he'd screw with me. He'd tell me dirty jokes. He was this older guy, and he owned a machine and tool and die shop where they built injection molds for like Chrysler, Volvo, stuff like that. You guys are familiar. You guys are from the Midwest.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Most people, you say like I'm a tool maker, they're like, you mean like screwdrivers? Like, no, bro. So he randomly offered me a job one day, and I had an apprenticeship and learned how to work with metal, and then I ran a lathe and a mill for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And then we were kind of at this point to where I was racing Tri, and had the recording studio part-time, worked at the machine shop full-time, and we had a house. Me and my wife had never really wanted kids. We're just not kid people. So, we had bought the house, we had careers, we had all the toys, and we were traveling every weekend. We were doing races, or we were doing backpacking trips. And we were just kind of to that point. It's like, okay, well, we have this house, we're never here. So what do we do now? Like, we just do this until like the day that we die. Like we just have a house and we just come and go. And it kind of got to this point of, we were just ready for a change. And I'd known about the AT my entire life. I did the Midwest boy thing. I was in Boy Scouts, went backpacking, hiking, did that a lot when I was a kid, fell out of love with it, played music a lot in high school, became like a big, typical musician burnout kid in high school. Nice. Got over that quick. And then we got back into backpacking, and on weekends, like I said, we would go backpacking, and I'd kind of thought about the AT, and we had some friends that had went out and hiked a section of the AT. Totally didn't know what they were doing, took way too much crap. And when they got back, they were just jacked on it, telling us about this, the whole time that they had. And they had met thru hikers. They had met some people that were thru hikers. And I'm like, what's a thru hiker? And they're like, oh, well, they hike from point A to point B, and they do the whole trail. And I just thought that was nuts. Like, I knew about the AT. I knew that it was there. I knew that you could hike the whole thing. But I don't think I had ever really understood the concept of a thru hiker.
Right.
And they're like, we found this documentary, and this documentary is called Trek. And it's about these 4 guys that hike the AT. You should check it out. So we rented it from the library. We watched it. And like, it was after watching that documentary, I was just like totally hooked.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing.
This is
100%.
happening.
Yeah, they made the doc in like 2001, I think. It's really great. If anybody out there, like it's old at this point, it's definitely a little outdated with some of the info that's in it, but it's the biggest thing that really inspired me to want to go out there. It's called Trek, Trek. And we made this decision that we're not only going to go hike the trail, but let's completely change our lives. Like, let's travel, let's go do something. So we decided to, not only we're going to do it, let's sell like 95% of the things that we own. Let's get rid of the house. Let's sell the studio. Let's do all this. And let's basically not put our life on hold and go do the trail, but let's completely change our life. When we get off the trail, let's move somewhere we've never been, and let's start over. So we just kind of like jumped off at the deep end hard.
Wow.
Got rid of the house, got rid of all that, put a couple things in storage, and then we took off.
Damn.
Did the trail.
That's awesome.
Yeah, got 1,600 miles in, and then I cracked a tooth. Took a tooth out on and off. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, nice.
I contracted a week before.
Got Lyme disease, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a form of Lyme. It's called ehrlichiosis.
Okay.
It's basically Lyme's disease, except you don't get the big bullseye rash.
Oh,
so
that's
I had no
terrifying.
Wow.
It's awful. Apparently it was a rare case. Usually only dogs and cats.
You're a lucky man.
So, yeah, man. I felt like a superstar. I'll never forget the doctor coming into the room. They had done some blood work on me. He's like, well, we got good news and we got some bad news. And I was like, all right. He's like, well, the bad news is you have a form of Lyme's disease. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, what's the good news? He's like, well, the good news, well, I guess it's not really good news. It's interesting news. He's like, it's a form of Lyme's disease called ehrlichiosis, and it's really rare in humans. And I'm like, oh, yay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Do I want to prize?
Yeah.
So with that, and then I cracked the tooth. We got off the trail for like a week so I could get my tooth pulled. I was just going to get it pulled and keep hiking. We found out that my wife's grandmother had just a handful of days to live.
Okay.
She was passing away, and we had made a pact that the only thing that would take us off the trail, that we would stop our hike and go back home, was if a loved one passed away.
Right.
Her grandma wasn't doing well in the first place in health, so it was just kind of like a 1, 2, 3 punch, and we got off the trail, went back, buried the loved one, got the tooth taken care of, healed up from having ehrlichiosis, and then we didn't really have enough money that year to return to the trail. So we jumped in our van and we basically headed west and landed randomly in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and basically with nothing but what we had in our van, and started fresh there. But whenever I got, kind of went off on a little caveat.
Are you good?
When I got out
that's
to
awesome.
the trail, one of the things that we used to prep were some of the first people, kind of circling back around,
right?
Kind of the first people that were on YouTube making through hiking media. Yeah. So you had Joe Brewer, who's now Backcountry Banter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You had Loner on the AT. Shout out to Loner, awesome dude. And Redbeard, who had just done the AT.
Yeah.
And he was making some of the first, like, here I am sitting in front of the camera, moving my hands around, showing the gear, talking about it. Right? Yeah. Like the thing that we all do now.
Yeah.
He was kind of the first person doing that style of video. So those are the cats that really inspired me. And when I got off the trail, we were kind of sitting around in Albuquerque, and I'm going through hardcore post-trail depression.
Right.
Like, nobody in Albuquerque really even knew what the hell the AT was. Like, nobody was into hiking. And I just kind of had this thought, like, I need to kind of get some of this off my chest. And I'd had a friend on the AT that was like, you should start a YouTube channel and do gear reviews. And I was like, no, like, that's the absolute last thing I'm ever going to do. And I had a GoPro that I had picked up, and I turned it on one day, and I just kind of started talking to it. And I was like, I'm going to make a video. And I made a video. And I had done something before that. I had made a video of me and my buddy Mike back in Indiana that was a professional cyclist, and I interviewed him. I just shot this video because I just bought a GoPro, and I was like, I want to shoot something with it. So I shot this interview. I think it's still on YouTube. It's like the first thing I ever uploaded.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we were sitting in Albuquerque, and I was like, I'm just going to shoot something. So I turned on the camera, and I shot a little video of me talking about my gear. And it was great. It was like super, like, I got to get a lot off my chest. I got to just talk about something. And then, a while went by. Nobody ever watched it. I sent it to a couple friends. And then, like, one day, man, like, somebody commented on that video and said, like, oh, great video. Like, I'm going to go do the AT. And I think that I met you. I was doing a section hike, and you were doing your hike. And I think I remember meeting you. And I think I'm going to go through hike the AT next year.
Wow.
And it was just like, light bulb went off. It was like, ding. And I was like, oh my God, I found my trail community, like, this far away in Albuquerque, sitting in the middle of nowhere, all because I turned on a camera and talked to it. And that's kind of how it all started, man. And then it was just kind of giving all to it at that. Did it for a little bit, and it didn't really go anywhere. We went back out to the AT less than a year later, finished up, and I filmed all that, put that on YouTube. And one day I was going to go off and do a section hike of the CDT in New Mexico. And I didn't have a video to shoot, because I was going to try to put out a video every Thursday.
Right.
And it was always going to be a gear review. And I didn't have anything to review. I talked about everything. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to make a video on. And me and my wife were talking, and she's like, just go out to the trail and just turn the camera on and just start talking. I'm like, start talking about what? She's like, I don't know. Just go talk. I'm sure something will come out. You'll figure something out. So I went out there, put the camera up, turned it on, and I made a video where I explained how the AT ruined my life. I made a video called How the AT Ruined My Life, which is what made everything do what it did. I went out to go through hike this section of the CDT and didn't have any service for days. And when I finally had service, I called my wife to come pick me up at this trailhead, and she's like, have you checked your YouTube channel? I'm like, no. And she's like, you really should. She's like, it seems like it's getting a lot of traffic. And I was like, yeah.
Jeez.
Get back, and everything had just like clustered up. It was really wild, man. And then that's, that was just, it just kept rolling with it, kept doing it. And it's been pretty nuts.
Dude, that's inspiring. As people who make videos. That's very cool to see your path of where you came from and where you're at now, and giving back to the community. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
Yeah, I also think it's cool that I look forward to like more of like the projects, more of the documentaries. Well, definitely the next one for sure.
So we'll wrap this up here. We've already kept you for an hour and a half. This goes fast, doesn't it?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy.
Yes, that's what happens when I start talking.
No, this was great.
No. I'll burn days talking.
You're a
very good conversationalist.
Yeah, and that's not an easy skill.
Thank you so much for talking to us, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
We're very excited to see what you're doing this year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping all your trips come together. Andy and I have done part of the Colorado Trail, so I want to see you on the Colorado Trail.
Yeah, I'm hoping you guys can get out here, man.
I know.
If you guys
I
do come out here, and for some reason I'm still here.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
If I don't get to do the Peru thing and stuff, and I'm waiting to go up to Canada to do the GDT, let me know if you guys are coming out.
Yeah,
I'd love to do some hiking with you. For sure.
We will let you know, sir. Other than that, stay safe. Don't get coronavirus. All right.
Find some stuff.
This is a good time to do Talking Heads videos.
Practice tying knots.
Yeah. Pick up a hobby. I don't know. All right, man. Thanks.
Oh, man. Appreciate it.
And we'll cut right there. Thanks, dude. That was
yeah,
super fun,
you.
man. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, thanks for reaching back out. Yeah, I appreciate that.
It goes fast. Wow, hour and a half. If you're around Friday, we're live streaming. If you're sitting, we do a lockdown. We do a coronavirus lockdown Friday live